What is going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Podium Pushers podcast with Justin and Brandon. We have made it to the end of a triple header. The Monaco Grand Prix is in the past. As much as I like the track, I'm glad I don't have to relive that Sunday, and I'm looking ahead to the Spanish Grand Prix, where I'm hoping the ability to overtake returns to the Formula One drivers' vocabulary this weekend. Brandon, how you feeling?
Feeling good. I'm feeling better. We have Spain in front of us. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to the future. Spain's a good track. It's going to be some good racing. Shake things up. It's just something different. So it's good.
Yeah, the FIA are shaking things up this weekend with the new technical regulation. It supposedly is going to change the order up. We have no idea. I think it's a bit overhyped personally, but we can only find out if we watch this weekend. So let's jump right into it with our predictions. Who is your podium pusher of the weekend for the Spanish Grand Prix?
My podium push of the weekend, and I'm might be riding the coattails of his Monaco performance, but I'm going with Isaac Hadjar. We talked about him a lot last week. He has been getting more and more attention because he's just been doing really well. He has, out of the four drivers in the Red Bull family, he has the second most points. And Isaac has been very consistent, and he seems to be very level-headed and knows what he's doing. And so Isaac Hadjar, it's my pick.
Yeah, pretty impressive that he's been level-headed based on the amount of screaming he did on the radio in the junior formulas, but perhaps he learned from Yuki Tsunoda how to tamper some of that when he gets into a Formula One car. I think he's been great. I think he's been the best rookie so far this year, and he was honestly the most underrated. I kind of thought he was like a fill-in driver until they got Arvid Lindblad in there. And then it turns out that Isaac Hadjar is great in Formula One, so good on him. Hope he has a great weekend in Spain. My podium pusher of the weekend is Max Verstappen. I am not riding his Monaco performance because he did not perform as well in Monaco as I predicted him to, but I've got a good feeling about the Spanish Grand Prix. If you look back to last year, Spain was the last race he won before all of the Red Bull got getting terrible stuff happened. And so I'm hoping that, maybe he delivers another great performance here in Spain. Maybe somehow this technical regulation does pull McLaren back a little bit and Max can perform well. But I've got good feeling about Red Bull this weekend going into Spain, and I'm putting Max Verstappen as my podium pusher.
Yeah, I think it's a good pick. Max has done very well in Spain in the past, and um, I think he tends to have some tracks that he just nails every time. So,
Yeah, got his first ever victory here, so cannot forget about that. Maybe he's going to get his most recent victory here as well. Who do you have as backmarker of the weekend for the Spanish Grand Prix?
my back marker of the weekend is Lando Norris. I don't necessarily have a concrete reason why I'm picking Lando as my back marker. I just know that he's been up and down a lot, and Monaco is different from Spain in a lot of ways. It's different from every other track on the calendar in a lot of ways, but I think Lando's going to have a poor weekend this weekend.
Yeah, he's crashed out of the Spanish Grand Prix twice in his career, so there is precedent for Lando Norris not having a great time at Spain. I've gone for Lance Stroll as my back marker of the weekend. This may seem like an easy pick, but you got to remember he's the only Aston Martin driver to score points this year, and Spain has been one of the tracks that he's actually performed pretty well at in his career. In 2023, it was one of the only tracks he outperformed Fernando Alonso at. So, it's a little bold, it's a little out there. Maybe, I mean, it's still a Lance Stroll backmarker prediction, so it could be an easy point. I don't know. But yeah, that's who I'm going with for sure.
I mean, that's a pretty solid pick, you know. Aston Martin has been doing well these last couple weekends. They've been showing a little bit more pace. Qualifying has been a lot better for them. So if we see a big dip from Lance in performance, I'd be willing to consider the point for you.
Hey, a Lance Stroll backmarker prediction has never let me down. That is for sure. Who do you think is going to take pole this weekend in Spain?
Pole, this was a tough one. I'm going with Oscar Piastri though. We know how well Oscar performs at the European circuits. I think people are probably looking back at this past weekend, and the narrative is Lando's closed the gap. Oscar didn't do as well. Oscar had a solid weekend last weekend. It wasn't the best performance in the world, but it was great damage limitation for him. So I think Oscar's going to bounce back.
Yeah, I mean, Oscar Piastri, always a great pick for pole based on how we started this year and how that McLaren is looking so far. I'm going out of left field. I played a little safe with my back market prediction, so I feel like I can be kind of wild with who I'm going to predict on pole. I'm going to go with George Russell. I still think George Russell is one of the best qualifiers on the grid. They don't call him Mr. Saturday for nothing. Obviously qualifying did not go how we wanted last weekend in Monaco, so maybe he's coming out for redemption. I don't think that Mercedes is that far from the front of the field, especially in qualifying pace. So I'm gonna pull a crazy one. If it hits, I'm gonna look like a genius because I put George Russell on pole this weekend.
I mean, you can never count out Mr. Saturday for pole. And this is right about the time of year where we see a big uptick in Mercedes performance. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I was reminiscing on the pole he took in Canada last year, and we're at roughly that point in the season. So, who knows? Another George Russell pole certainly could be on the table. Who do you think is going to finish in third place this weekend?
I feel like some people might come after me for this prediction, but I'm going with Charles Leclerc. I want him to be successful. I desperately do. I was so sad that he didn't win the Monaco Grand Prix. You know, if Charles had won and Lando had gotten P2, I think I would view the Monaco Grand Prix a little bit differently just because I like Charles a lot, and it was amazing to see him do so well last year and win the race. I desperately wanted him to be successful this year again. So I'm thinking maybe he'll get another podium this weekend in Spain.
Yeah, for two people who call themselves Red Bull fans, we have so much for our delusion. It is actually crazy, but I will never complain about a Charles Leclerc P3. In third place, I've gone for Oscar Piastri. Don't really have much reasoning behind this that hasn't been said already. The McLaren's a good car. Oscar's a good driver. We're in Europe. I feel like a podium is destined to happen for him.
Absolutely. It could definitely happen. I'm hoping it will happen, but maybe in a different spot. We'll
Hey,
see.
if you want to hope for him to finish in third place, that's fine with me because that's a solid point for me. Who do you think is going to finish second this weekend in Spain?
Second, I've gone with Max Verstappen. I do think that Max is just good around Spain. Like you said, he got his first win here. Um, so I just can't not predict him on the podium at this point.
Yeah, it feels stupid to say, but Max Verstappen is the hardest driver to predict this season because he is just so good. But every weekend, I'm like, that Red Bull could be first or eighth. I have no idea. It could be anywhere in there. And it is just so hard to predict. I feel horrible when I choose to leave him off the podium, and those are usually the races that he wins. So it is so difficult to predict Max Verstappen. I respect putting him in second place. I've gone with Lando Norris in second place. Very similar to things that I said about Oscar Piastri. The only reason that I put Lando Norris ahead of Oscar Piastri is I think that Lando Norris is a very momentum-based driver. And so when things are going his way, he tends to continue to have success. When things are not going his way, he continues to make some mistakes. And so I think right now, he's got the momentum on his side. He's finished ahead of Oscar Piastri 2 races in a row. He got his first Monaco Grand Prix win. So I think Lando Norris is going to keep riding that high to a P2 at the Spanish Grand Prix.
I think that's definitely possible.
And who do you think is going to win this weekend at the Spanish Grand Prix?
I'm going with Oscar Piastri. I again, I call it delusion, whatever you want. I love Oscar. He's a great driver. He seems like a really cool guy. And, he's Australian, and maybe my love for Daniel Ricciardo influences my love for Oscar Piastri a little bit, but I think he's going to win the race.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to find a driver that Brandon doesn't love. He just loves watching these guys drive around every weekend. I mean, how can you not? It's the most beautiful sport in the world, so how could you not? I've gone with Max Verstappen in first place. This is a bit of putting my eggs all in one basket because I predicted him to be podium pusher as well. But I feel good about it. I've got good vibes. I think Max, brought a pillow to the Monaco Grand Prix this week and took a nap during the race, so he's feeling nice and rested for the Spanish Grand Prix. So Max Verstappen P1, feeling good about it.
You know, if you're gonna put all your eggs in one basket, the Max Verstappen basket is a good one to put it in.
Yeah, I've never had cracked eggs when Max returns that basket to me. They're always in pristine condition, so I feel good about putting them in those baskets, that's for sure. What is your one push and prediction for the Spanish Grand Prix?
Oh, some of you may remember this push and prediction from last week, but I want Fernando to be successful, and so I just gotta predict it one more time at least. Fernando Alonso finally scores his first points of this season. That's my push and prediction.
Hey, it would be at his home race, so that's a great race to score your first. Maybe he has been waiting this whole year. He's gonna get a podium at his home race to be his first points. Maybe that's been this whole thing. He's been sacrificing points just to shock the world with a podium this weekend. Maybe that's what's gonna happen.
I would be overjoyed. Fernando's a great driver, and I desperately want him to see him win one more race before he retires.
2026, Adrian Newey, please come through for us so we can see Fernando Alonso win a race. My one push and prediction is that Yuki Tsunoda is outqualified by at least one RB driver. This isn't the boldest prediction I've ever made in my life, that is for sure. But I think going into this weekend, he should outqualify both of the RB drivers. It's a normal track, a normal weekend, nothing crazy going on. Spain is like as standard as it gets. They used to test there. Like, this is as average of a weekend on as average of a track as you could ask for. So surely he should return to Yuki Tsunoda form, maybe have some confidence in that car and outqualify both RB drivers. Like, that should be expected this weekend. So I still think this prediction is bold enough.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I do think that if Yuki can't start to put together a few weekends where he's showing pace, showing form, unfortunately, there may be some questions that might
No, we can't
start to
start
getting
doing
in
this.
at.
Is predictions for the Spanish Grand Prix. We can't start talking about Yuki Tsunoda's future already. He's been in the car for like 5 races. We can't start doing this.
Well, that's what Helmut Marko's been talking about with Christian Horner.
Absolutely unbelievable. They said they'd give him the whole season. They need to give him the whole season so they don't look like the biggest clowns in the sport.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we'll see
I
what
think
happens.
I think they will give him the whole season, definitely, but that doesn't mean that the rumors won't start flying. So,
That's true. Next thing you know, Sergio Perez is coming back to fill that second Red Bull seat.
oh God, that would be crazy.
That would be absolutely crazy. The fans pushing prediction at PJM.2002. Charles Leclerc wins the Grand Prix at KG_11. Oscar, Max, and George on the podium. And at T-Spence 3010, Red Bull will have a 7+ second pit stop.
That would be crazy.
Yeah, I hope for the sake of GP's ears that Max Verstappen is not the one who receives that 7 second pit stop, or we will be hearing an absurd amount of bleeps on the F1 TV broadcast if that happens to Max Verstappen.
That is definitely true. We would definitely be hearing that.
That is all we've got for our predictions for the Spanish Grand Prix. If you have any predictions for Spain, be sure to leave them in the comments down below. As always, thank you for watching or listening to another episode of the Podium Pushers podcast. Before we go, Brandon, what are your parting podium thoughts?
Man, I'm excited for racing. I just love watching it, and I think it's gonna be a great weekend in Spain.
Brandon is exciting for racing because we saw no racing in Monaco. We're just starved to see racing again. So we're excited that we get to see cars on track in Spain this weekend, that is for sure. Before you go, be sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, do all of the things. We will be back next week to react to the Spanish Grand Prix. But until then, have a great day and God bless.
Yeah.